Since the very beginning of My Hero Academia, we have never seen All For One actually start to sweat and be put under pressure before. The only thing we've ever heard that gave him nightmares was All Might himself, which is what led him into using Shigaraki as a vessel in the first place. So seeing him go from confidence at the beginning of chapter 333 to screaming damn Specter of All Might at the end of the chapter says enough about his current situation. So I guess I should tackle the elephant in the room first. Kathleen Bates, or better known as Star and Stripe, has been decayed by Shigaraki in this chapter of My Hero Academia. Seems like the entire community was right on her dying in this fight. Now, is it bad because it was predictable? I don't personally think so. Being predictable doesn't automatically make something terrible. It comes down to execution on the events that determine if it was good or not. Examples of this is how you can follow the traditional shonen formula of tournament arcs and still turn it on its head and make something that blows everyone away. Another example is if a character is going to die, if the readers think it's painfully obvious the character will die, and the author is aware of this, then the best thing the author can do is make them extremely flashy, to the point where you can't even forget about the character, even if they only have been around less than 10 chapters, which indeed Star has been around less than 10 chapters. I feel like Horikoshi Sensei did just that with Star. She will definitely have a lasting legacy on the story thanks to what is happening to All For One's body. I mean, she literally is damaging from the inside out, and because of that damage, even after her death, she has done something that will stick around the series. The weight of that will stick around going forward, maybe till the very end of the series. But I truly am sad to see her go in the end. What really nails her death scene personally for me is how you can clearly see that she is saluting even while her body decays, because you need to realize that in that moment, she knows she's dead. Star only has mere moments till she is completely gone from her world in My Hero Academia. It has to be a dreadful and depressing time, knowing it's over, that the end is coming. So she did go down like a trooper, and I respect her for that. Since I'm already talking about her, might as well talk about her lasting legacy on the world first. To put it bluntly, she gave All For One cancer. Now, I'm not trying to meme or anything. You gotta remember that quirks are fundamentally different from a character just having superpowers like any other story. They have a quirk factor within their body that houses the abilities the individual has. It effectively is a cell within a body. All For One takes these cells like a thief and incorporates them within himself using, his quirk All For One. Flaws and all come with them. If a quirk has a negative aspect to it, then All For One will also gain that issue as well, which leads into what his current problem is right now. Since quirks are evolving to a level never really seen before, it makes sense eventually All For One would run into this type of issue. A quirk able to fight back with ferociousness because it lost its original body. The cell, or the quirk factor, doesn't want to adapt to the new body whatsoever. It sees it as a foreign invader, or an invader that is just trying to incorporate it. It doesn't like it whatsoever. It's kind of like an organ transplant. Sometimes when, let's say, a new organ doesn't adapt to a body that it's transplanted into, it fails. This is kind of a similar case to that. Add in that quirks have personality, then it makes sense it would attack him like this. And what I mean by that is we found out a long time ago that quirks actually have the owner's personality in it. It's around the same time as we found out One For All was really gaining consciousness. All For One has dreams of them till he gives the quirk away. He basically got hints that this issue he's currently facing would happen to him one day, but he ignored it just like how he ignored the ending of the comics his brother read with him. It's very poetic and fitting for All For One to face his greatest challenge thanks to his own greedy nature. Now let's shift into the actual details of the Vestige Realm fight going on. Star's quirk is literally going on a rampage inside of him, and we get to see hundreds of quirks trapped in All For One, which is actually frightening imagery. It's kind of like the very souls of these individuals are just trapped in the Vestige Realm, and they're not able to be released because All For One is the king of this realm, and they can't do anything about it. She literally is grabbing them and tearing them apart. She's basically destroying the quirk factor cells, and that's pretty much what cancer does. It really does seem like cancer when you think about what she's actually doing to him in his inside. With Reflect permanently destroyed as well, It means this is the nerf that Shigaraki needed, and it makes perfect sense actually because of it. Not only if she can grab that regeneration quirk, because, I mean, if she can get her hands on, regeneration, it could definitely fundamentally change the entire battlefield of Shigaraki and really level him back down to where, let's say, someone like Izuku would actually be able to fight him. Because right now, let's be honest, the real reason why Shigaraki is just so unbelievably broken is because of regeneration. If that was gone, it would mix things up and make it a little bit more balanced than what it is. And that'll be the nerf that, Shigaraki truly needs. And speaking of Star, the look of her quirk is actually monstrous. Like, can we really just take a moment to acknowledge just how monstrous she looks, like New Order looks? It looks like a mix of All Might and Star into one entity. You could say that in this very moment, within this chapter, Star became as, or even more powerful than All Might because of the damage she is doing to him. All For One's fear is telling enough about that, because the only person that he's probably ever feared in his entire life was All Might rushing at him even when he was injured to bring him down. So let's talk about some theories I have right now. At the end of the chapter, we see Star decaying, but not fully gone. So because of that, it's left up entirely in the air if she actually is indeed dead. It's entirely possible All For One will be forced to give New Order back to Star and potentially reverse her death from decay, so she might not be gone yet. Depending on where Horikoshi Sensei wants to take that. Regardless, All For One needs to get rid of the quirk and fast, because the longer it's within his body, the more damage it will do to his entire being. It theoretically could do damage even to All For One's capabilities permanently too, if she gets her hands on his body. Might even damage the personality of All For One and leave Shigaraki as the dominant mind in the body. Which I want to kind of explain what I mean by this, is that if she is capable of literally tearing apart quirk factors, like Reflect, that was demonstrated within the chapter, and she gets her hands, let's say, on Shigaraki that has All For One kind of attached to him like a cancer cell, and she grabs him, she theoretically could crush All For One, destroy that part of the body to where All For One is not able to properly function, and Shigaraki would have full control over the body, and the personality of All For One would be, cease to exist. That could be what Horikoshi Sensei is trying to do as well. That would be a nice twist of things to get rid of All For One within Shigaraki, and that in turn, even though it did a lot of damage to, let's say, Shigaraki's body, maybe giving up regen, reflect, etc., at the same time, it gives Shigaraki his mind back. I really do wonder if that is the direction that Horikoshi Sensei wants to take the manga. But even in death, Star is fighting to the bitter end. What a character, honestly, and I love everything about her character. If she truly is dead and doesn't get, decayed, reversed, and she is completely gone, at least she died fighting. Truly shows how broken New Order is, even with its limitations factored in, because she couldn't stop herself from being decayed. It's a really good chapter of My Hero Academia this week, and I couldn't honestly ask for more after what I read. One last thing that needs to be discussed is this right here on the final panel of the My Hero Academia chapter. I don't know if it's what I think it is, but it's possible this is the Nomu that Shigaraki was with. It's possible, if it is indeed the Nomu, that All For One will gift New Order to it and be able to survive, but still have permanent damage to the quirks he's lost. I also want to mention that since New Order has the rule to attack other quirks within the body, we need to wonder if it'll do the same to the Nomu if that does indeed happen. For instance, will the rule of New Order still be applied if it passes over to someone else? I'm going to assume it will. It's possible if the Nomu does get the quirk, New Order will kill all the other quirks and be the dominant controller of the body. And what I mean is that Star might live on through her quirk inside of the Nomu. She'll be able to take the body over similar to how All For One's quirk is trying to take over Shigaraki. That's a cool possibility when you actually take a moment to think about it, that Star might actually still be around, but it'll just be a different entity of her, just the Nomu version of of her. Because it's a really gray area when it comes to, like, My Hero Academia Nomus, because we know that theoretically they're dead bodies, and that there is some personality still there, too, that can come back. So it makes you wonder if the reason why there's a personality is because of the quirk factors, and that's why Nomus are able to have consciousness to some degree. So maybe if New Order is given to the Nomu, it will mutate to the point to where it's actually able to gain consciousness and, you know, actually control the body. Guess we'll see where it goes next. I doubt Shigaraki will die personally, but I believe it is entirely possible the personality of All For One can. But I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you for watching the video. If you had any form of entertainment watching, then, you know, please leave me a like. It does help me out a lot. And if you want more of my content to appear in your YouTube feed, then, you know, think about subscribing. I love you all, and be safe. Chibi out.